First, fast, and accurate. News Channel 25, WVTT.
Taking our first look at WVTT weather. Earlier today, a high temperature of 11 degrees with some snow showers around. Now, overnight tonight, more snow flurries, maybe a snow shower or two, and a low temperature of 6 degrees. And tomorrow, snow flurries with a high temperature of 12. Old man winter definitely here in the Twin Tiers, Alexa.
That's right, and that wind chill, it just chills you to the bone. It takes that a while for you to warm up after being outside. It's that cold outside.
Takes all the fun out of 6 degrees.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have complete weather details straight ahead here on WVTT.
Global news update on WVTT.
In a country that's home to more than 30 million senior citizens, Japan's Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso just managed to offend more than his fair share of them. It happened in a meeting about Social Security reform and the high cost of health care. When speaking about the idea of being on life support, the gaffe-prone politician suggested it would be best to die quickly. He also referred to those on life support as, quote, tube people. CNN's Alex Zolbert reports from Tokyo.
In a country that's home to more than 30 million elderly residents, Japan's Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso has offended more than his fair share this week. It happened in a meeting about Social Security reform and the high cost of health care. When speaking about the idea of being on life support, the gaffe-prone politician has suggested it would be best to die quickly, also referring to those on life support as, quote, tube people. Needless to say, in this shopping mecca for Tokyo's older set, Aso isn't winning rave reviews. It's ridiculous. I don't trust him anymore, this woman tells us. I understand what he's getting at, this man says, but as a national leader, he should not say such things. Aso, who was once prime minister, has tried to clarify the remarks, saying he was expressing his personal views, that he himself would feel guilty if his life was prolonged for many years at the government's expense. Some say while it is a bad case of Aso catching foot-in-mouth disease, it does generate an interesting discussion.
The way he brought it up off the cuff isn't the way to maybe launch this debate, but I think perhaps this would be an opportunity for society, for the government, for doctors to launch a conversation nationally about what to do about people who do want to end their lives.
This nursing student tells us, when I see people unconscious and on life support, I wonder if that's what they really want. Her grandmother says the comments are offensive, but my husband passed away recently without much suffering, and that did make things easier. Either way, in a country where more than 25% of the population is over the age of 65, most would agree the 72-year-old Deputy Prime Minister needs to choose his words a bit more carefully. Alex Zolbert, CNN, Tokyo.
Things got a little testy during Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's testimony today on the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. The attack killed the U.S. ambassador to Libya and 3 other Americans back on September 11th. Days later, UN Ambassador Susan Rice said the attack grew spontaneously from a protest over an anti-Islam film produced in the United States. That turned out to be incorrect. During today's Senate hearing, Senator Ron Johnson presently questioned Clinton about that, saying Rice intentionally misled the American people. Here's the exchange.
I would recommend highly you read both what the ARB said about it and the classified ARB, because even today there are questions being raised. Now, we have no doubt they were terrorists, they were militants, they attacked us, they killed our people. But what was going on and why they were doing what they were doing
Again, we were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator. Now, honestly, I will do my best to answer your questions about this, but the fact is that people were trying in real time to get to the best information. The IC has a process, I understand, going with the other committees to explain how these talking points came out. But, you know, to be clear, it is, from my perspective, less important today, looking backwards, as to why these militants decided they did it, than to find them and bring them to justice. And then maybe we'll figure out what was going on in the meantime.
A young man is credited with saving the lives of at least 5 people, including 2 young children, from an apartment in Northern California. Sergio Quintana introduces us to the 23-year-old hero.
As the fire was raging, Trevor Kazimoff ran out his back door and saw people on the 2nd floor in trouble.
There was a lady, they were screaming for help.
From her apartment window, the woman began tossing her 2 young children to him on the ground.
She drops, it was a boy first and then a girl, maybe 2 years apart. And then as soon as I look up, she's already climbing out the window to jump herself.
This is cell phone video shot by a neighbor that shows how intense the fire was burning. As a mother and 2 children he helped got to safety, there were other people who were still stuck in another 2nd floor apartment.
They were screaming at me for help, you know, and they said, put up the ladder, put up the ladder. And I'm looking around, and right behind me on the ground, there's a 20-foot ladder.
The ladder had been left there by maintenance workers. It's still propped up against the apartment building. It's what 2 adults used to climb to their safety. The fire ravaged the entire building and destroyed several cars. Right now, fire investigators are trying to piece together exactly how the fire started, but one thing is very clear. They say Trevor's quick action saved lives. One of Trevor's longtime neighbors is a fire captain who responded to this blaze.
Given the amount of damage, the amount of fire, he made a difference.
For Trevor, the gravity of his quick action didn't really hit him till hours later when he talked to one of the women he helped save.
Yeah, basically, she's like, you know, oh, you know, the one who saved me, you're my hero. And I'm still, like I said, I'm not used to it. I don't feel like what I did was heroic because I did what had to be done at the time.
The S&P flirts with 1,500, another up day on Wall Street. Now the WVTT Wall Street Wrap-Up. It's sponsored by News Radio 96.7 WVTT. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up almost 67 points, closing at 13,779. The Nasdaq up 10.5, closing a little over 3153, and the S&P up over 2, closing at 1494.77. Still to come tonight on Twin Tiers Evening News, WVTT Sports, also straight ahead, WVTT's community calendar, and our severe weather action team forecast straight ahead here on News Channel 25 WVTT.